And we are back on the Flaming Talk episode after, I want to say, maybe 2-3 weeks off. We're back and we're doing this. Your host, Noah Adler, here, and alongside Connor Dolan, who has on the bottom here depressed.
The break wasn't long enough. The break wasn't long enough. But we got to do our thing, okay, guys? Okay.
It's for the fans, Connor. It's for the fans.
Yeah.
So in order, we had to come away from this break. We had to do the next episode with an absolute banner. So our guest will be joining us pretty shortly here, but we figured we get this underway here, and we just we talk a little bit about the holidays. But how are your holidays there, my friend?
Like personally, it was actually good. I went to my parents' place. Actually, if you're a little curious for everyone right now, I'm actually at my parents' place right now. So kind of background looks different, everything like that. Yeah, it's definitely not my place. I'm going to be back at my place today at least. So next episode, you will be seeing usual setup in the back. But afterwards, after Christmas on Boxing Day, we actually went out to our cabin, and it was great. We actually came back yesterday, pretty early. So, but we have a cabin out in BC. Have a nice, pretty small lake. We also have some nice outdoor rink too. So we actually had a fun time playing a little bit of hockey, whatever we could. But overall, I mean, it was fun. Yeah. So, what about you?
For me, nothing too remotely exciting. I just hung out with the family and chilled here at home, obviously, and we spent a little time together, you and me, just before you left for your cabin. It was a pretty fun evening we had on 17th Avenue, just before Christmas during the break of our show, but yeah, it was not a whole lot happening, man. I mean, during the holidays, and it's pretty much like you're at that point where, like, okay, it's December, just get to Christmas and get to New Year's. Let's just get this thing over with because I'm already ready for the new year. So,
yeah,
well, absolutely. So, yeah, I probably. Oh, the fuck happened? Okay, that's weird. It ended record.
No, it still says live.
No, I know, but how long? How long is it saying on your end?
322.
Okay, that's weird. Okay, that's weird. We apologize, folks. There's a little bit of technical issue on my end. So according to him, it says 322, but then on my side, it says 40 seconds in. So something must have. We apologize, folks, for the little technical delays. We've been having these issues.
I'm on my phone, guys, and somehow it's working better than his computer.
I don't even know what to say at this point when it comes to that. So our guest coming on here pretty shortly is James Johnson, one of my good buddies on Flames Twitter, and he also writes for the Win column on as well, a Flames fan site that they write articles on as well. So it'll be interesting to get his perspective, sort of where the direction of this team is going to be. And there he is on the bottom here. So we'll welcome in James now. There he is on the bottom. Jamesy, buddy, what's going on?
How's it going?
Not too bad, my friend. We're very glad we could have you on the show. We were just talking about how excited we are to have you on.
Well, thanks for the invite, and I'm happy to be able to talk about this team that we all know and don't really like right now.
Yeah, I think it's a love-hate relationship, my friend, on that regard. So I need to start off by asking you this, but where are we going here exactly with this team?
That's a good question. I mean, right now it looks like they're in the mushy middle, and they're gonna stay there for the rest of the season. Maybe they win 5 straight and then lose 5 straight, win 3 straight, lose 3, 500 seems to be exactly where this team is, and we'll see if they can get past 500 tonight, because I think that's been about 3 times where they've gotten to 500 and then just started losing again. So 500 almost seems like the peak for this team, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's really, man, like the unfortunate reality, because as badly as we want this team to rebuild, tear it down, whatever, we're all on Team Tank, but they're just not going to do that. They'll never do that. Knowing this ownership group.
Yeah, no.
I just seen a video of which team was the best for the trade value in the trade market, and it was the Flames, is probably one of the highest. And I just kind of had to sit there and look at it with almost a tear in my eye, because I knew that none of the aforementioned players who was on the trade list, whether it was pending UFAs or just guys we were looking at trading for something good. No, we're not trading them. We're not trading them. Maybe even if we at minimum trade Elias Lindholm, we all know better to think that something good like that would actually happen to this team. So we're just kind of right now. All I want to see is Oliver Shillington is to see about how he does in the AHL on the Wranglers. See how he does. See how his condition, and go from there. Because I hope I hope to see him just play a little bit on the Flames again. I don't care when. I don't care if it's maybe another month down the road. I just want to see him back, because we need something better than Gilbert and Osterley. Someone, in some way, just to
Yeah, I'm very much there, and yeah, just to mention that, by the way, great to see Oliver Shillington skating with the Wranglers today, and good to see him back, and the fact that he took care of his mental health. There's a lot of shit we give the Flames for stuff, but I think there's no doubt in our minds that they handled that as well, I think, as they possibly could in that situation. Okay, so I want to ask you this again, about the idea of rebuilding tank and whatever or not. I know there are people in the media who say, the Flames are going to trade these guys if they are not signed and whatnot. But do we really trust that this ownership is going to give the green light on a retool or trade these guys if they are within a point of a playoff spot? Like, how could we be so certain that ownership is going to give the green light on it?
That's kind of the scary thought going around right now. We saw it last year, albeit we didn't really have any key UFAs. They all had 2 years left. Now they only have a year left. But if they're 2 points out and they're chasing Edmonton, Nashville, and Arizona, let's say, who knows? Maybe, I think, and I'm hoping that Craig Conroy and this new regime have learned. Like, he's preached asset management in his opening press conference. I'm hoping that if for some reason you're smart and you don't sign Elias Lindholm to $9 million by 8 years or whatever he was asking.
Yeah, let's not think about that.
Then I hope you make the smart decision and move these guys regardless of standing position. Even if you win 20 games, your next 20 games ahead of the trade deadline or whatever, and you're securely in a playoff spot, I still think the team should move Lindholm, Hanifin, Tanev, all these guys. But as you said, it's probably unrealistic given what ownership has done in the past and what we've seen last year, where they just made all the net zero moves. Troy Stecher was nice, but didn't really move the needle that much, really. So
yeah. For a team that was stuck in the mushy middle last year, it just wasn't, because Jonathan Huberdeau struggled obviously, and he's had his struggles this year as well. It just, Stecher was a nice piece, but that was not enough to really move the needle at that point for a team that was absolutely going to miss the playoffs last year, and there was no doubt about it that you should have kind of sold at last year's deadline, because that could have secured even a better draft pick. And we're literally having the exact same conversations this year. So I get people are saying, man, Connie's a guy who, this is a new regime. They've learned from their lesson. Can you trust this ownership group? That's always going to be my biggest thing. Can you trust this ownership group?
I also just want to mention Huberdeau, by the way, is getting the Hart Trophy because January 1st, okay, he got a goal. He was, you know what? So new year, new Huberdeau, okay. You will go from a 47 point point player to probably about 80 plus points. All right, that's my prediction. All right, it's happening.
Here first, folks.
Yeah, it is the prophecy. He.
It's Connor's conspiracy, everyone. He's gonna be 115 point Huberdeau again. So, but I'll ask this about some of the pending UFAs though that we have to trade. Where do you see their trade values being right now?
Yeah, I actually did a deep dive on this, I want to say a couple weeks ago for the win column and just kind of researched past trades and stuff like that because
by the way, shout out.
Yeah.
By the way, shout out to the win column.
Shout outs to the win column. Wincolumn.ca, good stuff. But yeah, because I like a lot of fans kind of expected a little bit more for Zadorov, but then when you look at past trades for kind of bottom pairing physical defenseman, it wasn't far off really if you look at past trades. So I would say Lindholm is a very similar player to Bo Horvat, given age, point per game, kind of both decent defensive centers. So Bo Horvat last year netted a first-round pick. Atu Ratti, who I'd say is a good prospect, not like an elite prospect, but a good prospect. And then Anthony Beauvillier, kind of a cap dump thrown in there as well. Noah Hannafin, if you look at guys like Hampus Lindholm, they got a first, a second-round pick, and a young defenseman. So I'd think something around that. And Chris Tanev, you're probably looking at maybe a second and a fourth, or if there's really a bidding war, you could get up to like what David Savard got a few years ago, which was a first and a third round pick, but that's probably being a little too generous. I don't think we'll get that.
Yeah, I think where I stand is probably like, I mean, at minimum 2 first round picks this year. And at least 2 first round picks next year. That's at least a minimum that the Flames need from these UFAs that they're trying to trade off. But we'll continue in the trade conversation for a second here. So let's talk about the non-UFAs. Is there really anyone that's an untouchable? Besides maybe Jonathan Huberdeau because of how bad that contract looks right now, and there's no way any team's taking that. But is there really anyone on this team besides Huberdeau that's an untouchable? Because I feel like there really isn't an untouchable, and I think everything should be on the table for this team, whether that be Markstrom, whether that's Kadri, whether that's Coleman, whether it's all the other older guys. Everything should be on the table heading into the deadline.
Yeah, I think like given where the Flames are at, like you could maybe say Dustin Wolf or like Matt Coronado, Connor Zary, because those are guys you're probably not going to move. But if Edmonton came around and offered you Connor McDavid for Dustin Wolf, like you're going to take that, right?
Yeah,
so you're taking it.
Yeah,
that's an easy yes.
Taking one generational talent for another would be like, yeah. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Edmonton. That would definitely
Connor for a Connor. Yeah, thanks very much. We'll also look at Connor Hellebuck too.
Oh yeah, just throw him in there.
I think Kyle Connor as well. Just take all the Connors.
All the Connors.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I like that, and I think what Noah was saying is if Conroy is able to get his way, I think definitely he is going to be looking for picks, and I do want to see as many picks as we can get. like especially first rounders, kind of second rounders for the next year and the year after. I don't like picks that go into like 5 years down the line, because then what happens, right? Like we don't know what happens in 5 years down the road. We could actually be a top contending team, and then all of a sudden that we might give up a pick. We might say, "Oh, you remember that pick that an example Nashville gave to us for us giving away Markstrom." Just as an example, maybe Saros got traded and they wanted Markstrom. I don't know. We'll just say that as a really stupid example, but right, we could suddenly be like a top contending team, and then we're like, oh, why don't we get rid of one of our picks for something where we could be like like an even better playoff team. So like that's I prefer ones where we kind of know of, like for the short term, like 1 or 2 years, the picks. But I mean, having also future picks down the road isn't a bad thing. It's just always a question mark as to what we could do with them, and or how useful they may be to us.
I know. Here's what I'll say. I know this far too well with the Yankees that prospects, man, they're always never a guarantee. Like so I think like, and even in like the later picks too, right? And I think that's why people were kind of upset with the Zadorov trade, was because they were like, why are we trading for draft picks that's 2 years down the road? And like, why aren't we trading for a draft pick that's this year or next year? Because that's a shorter term, and we need to focus on building around the shorter term for the longer term as well. So I think people were upset on those bases too. And I think I think, as I pointed out, like if you're Craig Conroy and if you're the managerial staff, everything's got to be on the table, man, including guys like Kadri, Coleman, who are still signed. Like there cannot be a possible stone left unturned at this deadline.
Yeah, like there should be like Rasmus Anderson, who else is signed? Like Coleman, Kadri, even Uyghur, who I love. But like honestly, it would just be, from my perspective, putting him on a better team, because I really like the guy and I want him to do well, right? Like obviously you're stuck with Huberdeau. Like I think everybody knows that at this point he's not going anywhere.
No chance.
Unless for some random reason you like mutually agree to get rid of the contract. But
how would that even work though? How would that even work if that were to be a thing? Because like I don't think there's avoidance in the NHL when it comes to contracts, is there not?
You can like mutually agree to terminate a contract, but that's usually like league min guys that want to go play overseas. Like they have a better offer over there. I don't think we've ever seen it with like a big name. So
and it's something that and I get the hypothetical there, but I just don't think it's something that Huberdeau would agree to, and I don't even think it's something that there's certainly the PA would never agree to either. Like the PA would always want their players to get paid. So if you tried to void the contract with a player who's probably part of the union as well, like there's absolutely zero chance the PA would go for that. Not in a million years. So realistically, I think that, and let's get to Huberdeau though, to talk about this, because I mean, sure, he's had a couple straight, fine games and whatnot, but what do you do, man? Because you can't trade him, you can't do any of that. So what do we do at this point with Huberdeau?
Yeah, like it's really come to a point where you just kind of expect him to not show up most nights, which sucks. But you can, I know we've heard in the summer that the Flames are kind of looking at guys they think can fit with Huberdeau, and we've heard Anthony Duclair's name mentioned around. But it's like, why would you be
kind of difference is that going to make?
Why would you be paying assets to help this team, right? But the one thing I'm kind of concerned about right now is Lindholm playing well with Huberdeau. And it's great to get Lindholm's value up if you're going to trade him. But we know in the summer, the main kind of idea around Conroy sending that massive offer to Lindholm, which let's just say it was a stupid offer. He sent that to Lindholm.
Yes.
Their main purpose of that was, okay, if we pay this guy, maybe we can kind of get more value out of Huberdeau's contract in the long run. And that's a terrible way to think about things.
It almost feels like a doomsday-like scenario at that point. Because I don't think, because the problem is, and I understand why people keep saying try Huberdeau with Lindholm again, but guys, that did not work last year. Why do we think it's going to be sustainable this time around? Like I don't. Thank you, and that's the problem. That's why the team, and that's the unfortunate thing about Jonathan Huberdeau is that he's playing around a team who stinks. Who, quite honestly, if it wasn't for Jacob Markstrom, they'd probably be with San Jose and Chicago in the bottom three, which is realistically where we want them to be. But at the same time, if it wasn't for Jacob Markstrom having a bounce back season as he would be, this team would be bottom 5 in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And they're already in that bottom tier to begin with, but they're more closer to the middle than they are to the bottom.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like I don't know. The best thing you have to do if you're the Flames is find a way to keep playing him and let his value get up to the point where you say, okay, maybe we can get something back, hypothetically. And again, easier said than done. But if you're the Flames, like, again, you can't void a contract. You can't, send him to the minors. You can't trade the guy. So, like, what do you honestly do? Except just leave him and see if his value can go up. But it's a pretty difficult situation. We're gonna get to the DraftKings ad read here. Just to take a quick second break here. But just let me get it up here for a second. So this show is presented by our good friends over at DraftKings. Bet the action on the ice with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now and use code THPN. New customers can get $150 instantly in bonus bets for Ben just $5 on hockey. That's code THPN, only in DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsman partner of the NHL. The Crown Zeros. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boohoo Casino Resort, 21 plus ages varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. The NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. I wonder where the Flames sit in terms of odds to get a top 5 pick.
I mean,
they got to be like not good.
I know like playoff models have the Flames at like 20 to 30% chance right now of making the playoffs, but I don't know if there's anybody that actually models like a bottom 5 pick. I know, like, obviously,
right.
San Jose, Chicago, and Anaheim are going to be down there.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Columbus.
I actually saw a pretty recent poll on the playoff odds, and Calgary's is only at like just under 5% of making playoffs now. So,
yeah.
I mean, yay, because I don't want this team to be making the playoffs, but at the same time, how much under are we going to be short by? Like, are we going to be short by 10? Or are we going to be short by 1 like we were last year, or by a couple or 2 points,
Or historically, where this team has ended up finishing in the past is 16th place, 1 point shy, and then you pick 16th in the draft. That's basically how it goes. It's very likely they're going to finish there. But let's talk about the draft for a second, because the Flames are sort of in that bottom 10, but close to the mushy middle. What kind of draft picks and prospects do you foresee the Flames picking if they were to pick in the bottom 10, hypothetically?
Yeah, I guess I'll assume like they're picking around 9th or 10th right now. Yeah. I'm just going to assume, based on everything we know about this franchise is they'll probably finish around 15th overall. So I'll just talk about guys kind of in that range.
Mm-hmm.
One that obviously stands out to Flames fans is Tij Ginla, who has taken the WHL by storm. Now, obviously, that would be a huge, huge marketing for the Flames to get another Ginla in the organization. That's a lot of pressure put onto the kid as well, but I think it'd be awesome to get. I mean, Ginla's Calgary Flames. That's like
a
the
new
first
generation of Iggy, dude. Oh, that would be unreal.
Yeah.
But now, we're not saying that we're fully expecting for him to live up to his spot. Now, if he did, amazing. If he doesn't, but he still does well, I don't care. That's another Iggy in the playing for the Calgary Flames, and frankly, I love it. I don't really care. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to see more than less than anything is that how well does he do his development, and then just going from there. So I think we're probably going to be getting our better look at what he's capable of, hopefully by the next year's World Juniors, because I think he is trying out, or I would assume that he is going to be trying out for that, for the World Junior team. If he does make it, then we'll see about where he places, about like what line he's going on. If he's going on the first, he's going on the fourth. He's definitely seeing about what he can do, and then if going from there, seeing about where we can, what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and here's the thing I'll say about TJ Ginla, and I understand, the excitement of a potential finish in maybe in the middle, and then TJ is going to be available for the Flames to take him. And I think the one thing too that we should mention that he is a center, and it's something that the Flames kind of do need, is they do need that number one center at some point. I mean, not that we're saying he'll turn into that guy, but I mean, that's kind of something the Flames need. I will just say this is that I also want the Flames to make the right pick. And I don't want them to just make the pick because it's in the Ginla and because of the fact that he's Jerome's son. I need them still to make the correct decision. So if we got Teach, that'd be great. But also know that, okay, this is the absolute right decision that you need to make here to give your franchise that potential next guy. But again, we'll see what happens in that regard. But let's see the Flames do. Let's see the Flames trade most of their guys, UFA guys, and guys like I mentioned, Kadri, Coleman, and then Markstrom as well. And they do fall into the bottom 10 tier. What kind of players do you possibly foresee the Flames getting if they're between maybe 10 and 6?
Yeah, I think kind of the major focus going into this draft has been obviously the top end of Celebrini, but also there's a ton of defensemen. And if the Flames move Hanifin, Tanev, whoever, there's really not a lot of prospects beyond Poirier and Morin. And I get, like, if you want to throw in Soloviev and Kuznetsov, but really the Flames have been lacking defense prospects for years, and we're about to see that kind of take shape if they move guys off their NHL roster. And like you mentioned earlier, when you have Osterley on the roster now, if you move Hanifin, he's going to get more playing time. And that hole is going to become way more obvious. So I think you have guys like Sam Dickinson, Artyom Levshinov. I don't even know how to say the guy's name. Like there's a lot of high-end defense prospects in this draft that if the Flames wanted to go that route, I could definitely see that making sense. But again, as you said, take the best player available regardless of positional need, because this franchise needs a lot of prospects going forward. So
because let's be honest here. I mean, besides Coronado and Wolf, like what else do you realistically have? Like Poirier could have some high end, but still, like he's still a very unknown. Like all these other prospects beyond Coronado and Wolf, and I mean, I don't think we should label Peltier as a prospect anymore. Like I think he'd be more NHL full time once he gets back in the lineup. So beyond like Coronado and Wolf, like what's really there? besides those guys. Like, still a lot of completely unknowns, despite how much high end ceiling they may have.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So let's start to wrap up here. This episode, by the way, with James Johnson of the Win Column, and one of the more popular faces on Flames Twitter, as I've known for a long period of time. But let's give some final predictions from you before the trade deadline. So, do the Flames move all their UFAs at the deadline?
I want to say, like, out of the 3 key guys remaining, I want to say they're going to move at least 2 out of 3. I'm guessing, like, I know pretty much that Lindholm is gone unless, again, you never know, but I think he's on the outs, and I think one of Hanifin or Tanev will definitely be out as well, but I think there's also a chance that this team decides to extend one of the defensemen and move forward. But so I'll say,
which would be a mistake.
It would, but again, it's this organization. I could see it happening. So I'll say they move 2 out of 3 just to kind of hedge myself against the possibility that they decide to keep them all.
That's totally fair. Connor, what about you, man?
So if I'm living in a fantasy world, and everything was roses and rainbows and butterflies, I'd say yes, they would get all 3. They'd move all 3. If I'm being an optimist, then I'd say 2 out of 3. But if I'm being a realist here, I would say they'd probably move Lindholm. They'd probably move only 1. And the other 2 would have to be kind of a question mark. Because, again, if I would be an optimist, I'd say at least I'd say Tanev. They'd move Tanev first, and then they would kind of go 50-50 whether they want to extend or also move Hanifin somewhere else. So I don't know. Like, again, I would say realistically, Lindholm is going to go. But if I'm going to be an optimist, I would like to say at least Tanev and Lindholm. So
I'll give my prediction and then we'll wrap up. I think personally, as badly as I want to see the UFAs moved, and as badly as I want to see guys like Kadri, Coleman, and Markey get moved to the deadline as well, I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it known this organization.
Honestly, that's fair. That's a fair take.
Yeah, that's where I absolutely will stand. Is that until I see those names, until I see the Calgary Flames release a tweet or a press release saying that the Calgary Flames have traded Elias Lindholm, Chris Tanev, Noah Hanifin, Jacob Markstrom, all these other guys, I'll believe when I see it.
Yeah. That's fair.
So yeah, just before we say goodbye here, James, mind if you plug your stuff in with the audience here, please?
Sure. Well, again, thank you guys so much for having me on and talking about, well, this fantastic team that we love and appreciate so much. You can find me on Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it now, and Instagram at JamesJohnsonYYC. And I also write things at Win Column, which is at wincolumnCGY on X, and then thewincolumn.ca. There you go.
Yeah, there you go, folks. Make sure you go follow them on Twitter, and make sure you go follow the Win Column and all their work. James, man, thanks for coming on the show here today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, James.